Thank you so much, Council President Katz. Thank you for your leadership on this and all of your help and support as we worked through it. I think this is such an important action that we are taking today to send a message loud and clear to our business community, our local businesses, our local nonprofits who don't just employ our friends and family and neighbors, they are our friends and family and neighbors, that we hear you, we feel you, we appreciate everything that you're going through. And while we can't solve a global pandemic at the county level, and we all recognize that, and we need significant help and support from the federal government and the state government to step in much more significant ways with the much more powerful levers that they have at their disposal, we need to do our part at the county level, and we need to step up to the challenge that we recognize that you are facing. And I am incredibly proud that this action is not an individual effort, it's a county council effort, and frankly a county government effort with full support of the county executive, and literally every single colleague has fingerprints on this legislation, and it shows. And I think we got to a really good place. It has changed dramatically and significantly in better ways since it started. This has been an evolving process as each of us have been reaching out and hearing from so many members of our community, so many businesses who are dealing with such painful decisions of laying off and furloughing employees in a crisis that nobody could have anticipated, who are, literally restaurants that are taking food out of their freezer and providing it to employees who don't have enough shifts to be able to work, businesses who can't make payroll despite the fact that they would like to. And so this action, a $20 million fund, which we have put in motion the appropriation earlier, as you heard, on the consent agenda, will allow up to $75,000 grants for local employers, up to 100 full-time equivalent employees or fewer, to be able to demonstrate that they have operating losses, and the money will be able to go in the form of grants to be able to fund wages and benefits, other operating losses, including rent and debt and other aspects of what they face. And then it also includes up to $2,500 in telework capability grants, which were something that several of us have heard from the business community. I particularly want to thank not just all of my colleagues here, not just the collaboration of the executive and his staff throughout the process of drafting this legislation, but particularly our staff at the County Council, which has just been absolutely tremendous through this, incredibly diligent and hardworking. Bob Drummer, Craig Howard, Gene Smith, Linda McMillan, so many others who dove into this and helped to address the issues. And so I can't reiterate it enough that every single person on this council and on this body has a piece of this legislation, and this truly is the benefit that the product is better than the sum of our parts, and we got to a really great place. And I also should note in the aspects of this bill that there is a person dedicated to outreach in the executive branch that is required of the executive that Councilmember Jawando had put forward, and this will allow us to really make sure that the businesses understand what's available and how to actually access the funds, which is a really important aspect of it as well that I wanted to make sure that I included. We recognize that we are making drastic decisions at the government level, largely the state and the federal guidance. And those drastic decisions are necessary to deal with the global pandemic, but they also have dire consequences for our local employers and for employers all over the country. And we need to take similar drastic measures to be able to respond and help those who are impacted by this. And that includes the businesses, it includes the nonprofits, and it includes the vulnerable residents that we heard about earlier as well. We need an all hands on deck. So with just absolute deep appreciation and pride in how this body really stepped up to this, moved faster than I think we've ever moved on something like this, and worked as close as we moved. I really appreciate that. I'm proud of this introduction and the fact that we are stepping up to play our part to help out our friends and neighbors who are struggling to keep the lights on. And they need our help, and we're calling on the state government, who announced their $175 million plan, and to both of those efforts to call on the federal government to be able to do their part. And we need them to follow the model that we've been doing in Montgomery County and in Maryland, which is putting aside politics and philosophies and making sure that we get things done. The last thing that I will point out is the part of this bill is follows in the footsteps of what D.C. did, a similar program that D.C. put together. I'm excited that D.C. has been able to get that program up and running in a week, in 7 days. I'll call on our partners in the executive branch who are working in lockstep with us, collaborating and coordinating, to be able to act similarly to that with similar haste, because the timing of this is literally everything. It's a difference between keeping the lights on and not for so many businesses. This is set up that the executive branch will be able to promulgate emergency regulations, put them in place immediately. This is not going through the regular process, because we realize that we are in a crisis and we need to respond in a way that reflects that crisis. So thank you very much.